worship service for February 2nd. As a part of that service, they would like to hear from you about visible and invisible disabilities you may have, especially as they impact your involvement here at FRS. What might be any barriers, small or large, that keep you from fully participating in the FRS community? And what would make you feel more welcome? Please send an email to Reverend Rebecca sharing what you wish her to know. Your information will be kept confidential, but will help all of us to better understand each other and the needs of the congregation. You can find her email in your order of service. Every Sunday, it is such a blessing that we can gather. So let us give ourselves to it. Welcome once again. It's good to be together.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Tina Bennick, and I am here today as a member of this year's annual campaign steering committee. The theme of this year's campaign is Be the Light, Make Love Real. The campaign right now is in the preparatory stages. As many of you know, we kick off in earnest in March, but there's a lot that happens through the rest of January and into February. My ask today is to everyone here in the sanctuary and those online, if you would think about being willing to be a steward in this year's campaign. There's no particular skill set that you need to be a steward other than the desire to be in fellowship with other stewards from the congregation and a desire to support our church and our programs, our staff, and our campus. And it's a really fun thing, and all the stewards are given a lot of support along the way. My second ask is, if you are here in the sanctuary or online, if you could put it in the chat, if you are here and have already volunteered to be a steward, would you please stand up so everyone can see who they can talk to ask questions of? Oh, this is great. Thank you so much for being willing to do this. We have about 35 stewards. Thank you so very much for doing this. We have about 35 stewards. We'd like to get about 10 or maybe 15 more. And so if you are willing to do that, please email me, Tina Bennick. My information's online, or you can catch me in the vestibule right after the service. So thank you very much for considering it, and thank you to all who have already volunteered.
And thank you, Tina. We're approaching our campaign this year a little differently, where it is more of a shared, it's our church. So our steering committee is leading the charge, if you will, and we're hoping, as Tina said, to have about 50 stewards so that the burden truly is light and the joy is large as we are in this time in the world. And I am also looking at our honorary chairs, John and Florence Mercer, who have agreed to serve in that capacity. They have loved and cared for this church for generations, and they are excited about where we are and who we are becoming. So thank you for taking this new role as well. This is one of those days, my friends, full and so much. First, I wanted to say that I think I have a mental blind spot on January 20th because I keep saying our service is on the 22nd. It's actually on Tuesday evening, and so there's a lot. There's a lot that many of us are fearing and feeling and holding and wondering, and it is good to be together. The fact that this happens on Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day of Honor tomorrow is not lost on any of us. But may we take the time today to honor his messages and his legacy and to act as he would this day, tomorrow, and all the years to come, if he were to be here in body. There's more you'll hear in this service that is heavy on some of our hearts, many of our hearts. So as we hold in ourselves all that is our life, give yourself to this time. Put aside the clocks, the to-do lists, the worries, for everything will be there when we're done. And let ourselves be filled by the love, the hope, and the spirit of this community. Our call to worship this morning are the words, paraphrased, of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from his final book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? And he wrote, "Yet the average white person has a responsibility. They have to rise up with indignation against their own municipal, state, and national governments and demand that the necessary reforms be instituted which will protect us all. Otherwise, the white people will be the victim by allowing those who have the greatest culpability to evade responsibility. Constructive social change will bring certain tranquility. Evasions will merely encourage turmoil. Black people hold only one key to the double lock of peaceful change. The other is in the hands of the white community. You are faithfully called to worship. Let's rise in body or in spirit and join together in our opening hymn, number 170, verses 1 through 4. We are a gentle, angry people. Please be seated.
Good morning. Please join us in saying our chalice lighting words as members of the Anti-Racism Initiative and Leading Edge team light the chalice. The special words for this morning can be found in your order of service. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community.
Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. There are an untold number of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will invite you to respond saying peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle is lit for the U.S. and people across our country, especially those in marginalized groups and their allies, who may be concerned and anxious about the upcoming inauguration and the difficult times ahead. May we all find hope and solace by being in community and the strength and courage to continue advocating for justice and liberation for all people. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle is lit for Israel and the Gaza Strip, where a ceasefire and hostage release deal has been approved after 15 months of war. We pray that this deal will be successfully implemented and maintained, and that those affected can find peace, closure, and healing. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom.
Please rise in body or in spirit, and let's join our voices in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. The words can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. I would love to invite any children forward. We're going to be listening to a story. So if you are a child or a youth or really young at heart, come on up. So this is a story called Something Someday. The words are by Amanda Gorman, and the pictures are by Christian Robinson. Amanda Gorman is the youngest presidential inaugural poet in U.S. history, a best-selling author, and a committed advocate for the environment, racial equity, and gender justice. You are told that this is not a problem, but you're sure there's something wrong. You are told that this cannot be fixed, but you know that you can help. You are told that this is too big for you, but you've seen the tiniest things make a huge difference. You're told that this won't work, but how will you know if you never try? You're told to sit and wait, but you know people have already waited too long. You're told that what's going on is very, very sad. But you're not just sad. You're scared and confused. You're angry. And maybe, just maybe, a little hopeful. You're told not to hope, but you keep hoping anyway. Sometimes you feel like you're all alone, but someday, somewhere, you find a friend, someone who will hope with you, who believes in your dream, someone who will fight with you. You make a promise to each other. You say, there is a problem, but it's our problem together, so we can fix it together. The problem is big, but together we are bigger. You make another friend and tell them it's okay to be sad. And they tell you, sometimes we'll lose, but that's all right. We'll try again. And so you do, together, working, together, beginning, over and over and over and over, until you're no longer beginning, you're winning. Suddenly there's something you're sure is right, something you know you helped fix, something small that changed something big. Something that worked, something that makes you feel hopeful, happy, and loved. Something that is not a dream, but the day you live in. And something that makes you smile as you tell someone else. Please join now in singing hymn number 413 as we sing the children to Young Church.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. Our community partner this month is Nourish the North Shore. The mission of Nourishing the North Shore is to ensure equal access to healthy local food for all members of the North Shore communities in a manner that builds community, fosters connection, and promotes dignity and self-reliance. The seeds of NNS were sown from the FRS program, Stir the Pot, so let's keep stirring. To give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream. You can also make a contribution by text, and of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you, Ken. Beautiful. This is a time in our service each week where we pause to lift up the joys, the sorrows, the hopes, the concerns of our beloved faith community. This morning, Susan Ricker, our pastoral care associate, will light the candles as I read what has been shared with me in advance of today's service, as well as what has been written in the journal, which you're always invited to write in as you enter into the vestibule each Sunday. Okay, we have several joys and several sorrows. We'll start with the joys. We first would like to wish Carol Kilty a very happy birthday. Carol. Beautiful. Yes, that's right. "42? We light another candle of joy, which Audrey shares with us, that Gibriella did a favor for Audrey without even knowing her. Thank you, she writes. We also have a big thank you and celebration, as we've just learned the day before yesterday that our congregation's annual renewal as a welcoming congregation has once again been awarded by the Unitarian Universalist Association, which has been happening since 1996. And the association writes, "Congratulations, you have successfully completed the 5 practices of welcome renewal for 2024. Sincere congratulations on your ongoing commitment to the LGBTQ+ welcome and inclusion in and beyond Newburyport. It was a pleasure to read and learn about all you have accomplished and the powerful work that you have done." I'd like to thank all of the current members of our welcoming committee, and I hope I've captured everyone here. We have Everett and Charlie Himmel. We have Aaron Hutchinson Himmel, Woman Cooper, Nancy Crochier, Holly Cashman, August Mead, and Reverend Laurel and myself. I'd also like to make sure that we extend our appreciation and thanks to everyone who has served on the welcoming committee over the past 28 years. Yes. We, Ann Verrett Speck and Forrest Speck and their family, light 2 candles, a candle of joy and one of concern. The candle of joy is that they have recently welcomed their 7th grandchild to their family. Leor Chapman Verrett Speck was born on January 9th. Forrest and Ann are looking forward to going to Chicago to visit the first week in February. The family also asks that you hold Forrest and Ann's daughter-in-law, Ariel, in your caring thoughts. Ariel had surgery yesterday due to an infection in an incision and will be hospitalized for several days. Everyone is grateful that her parents are here visiting as well and can offer support to the family and to Leor. We'd like to light another candle of concern from the Bennecks, Tina and Greg, and they write, "Please keep the little barred owl that is stuck in our chimney in your thoughts, as we have a wildlife rescue person trying to take him out safely." We also share the news. I apologize, we have a rich community full of lots of news. We share the news that Melissa Rose Williamson, also who was a key leader in our welcoming committee, has moved to Elliott, Maine to be closer to her family. This move came amidst some difficult months recently, including health challenges. She is now happily settled and enjoying being with her grandchildren on a regular basis. She shares that she is very sad to leave FRS as a formal member, but is excited to keep her connection with us. She already has great ideas about how we might collaborate with other churches during the upcoming years and will certainly be back to visit. We will miss you, Melissa, and her new address will be in tomorrow's Between Us. Okay. Tom and Ann Himmel light a candle of care, love, and sorrow, and ask that this be lit for their daughter-in-law, Liz's mother, Nina. Nina had attended several FRS Christmas services while visiting here and was airlifted from Maryland to a medical center in Pennsylvania due to a severe cardiac issue on Tuesday. Liz flew down that day, and Tom and Ann's daughter, Whitney, and granddaughter, Zany, joined them in Maryland on Thursday. A not unexpected crisis arose on Saturday morning, and just before being moved to hospice, Nina passed away. We ask that you send all good wishes and prayers to the entire family while they work through this difficult loss. Last week, we had shared the difficult news that Jay McCarthy had an unexpected and very difficult stroke, and though he gave it all a gallant effort all week long, he did pass away peacefully last night. All of the family was there. every grandchild got to see him. His children and beloved Nancy were by his side every moment through the week. Maureen works there and was able to visit as well during the week. Thank you so much. Nancy shared that as this really difficult and yet sacred journey they actually got to share together for those numbers of days was coming to a close, it was getting difficult as it can be. And being the runner that she and Jay always were, she just let him know that he was running a marathon and it was time to cross the finish line. And he went peacefully. There are losses in a community that are particularly difficult for so many reasons. Difficult because they are unexpected, difficult because sometimes people and families have gone through really difficult other issues and health issues, like in this case. And just when we think the difficult things have passed, something else happens. I see Jay here, and I know what he'd be saying. Keep it on. Keep it going. So we hold Nancy, his children, and their family in our loving thoughts and prayers, and a date for the memorial service will be forthcoming. Let's take a deep breath and join in a spirit of prayer, meditation, contemplation. Our prayer this morning is by Grace Lee Boggs, and I invite you to just let the words wash over you, either meeting you where you are or allowing your heart to be where it needs to be. These are the times that grow our souls. These are the times that grow our souls. Our lives, the lives of our children and future generations, and even the survival of the planet depend on our willingness to transform ourselves into active planetary and global citizens who, as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. put it, quote, develop an overriding loyalty to humankind as a whole in order to preserve the best in our individual society. These are the times that try our souls. Each of us needs to undergo a tremendous philosophical and spiritual transformation. Each of us needs to be awakened to a personal and compassionate recognition of the inseparable interconnection between our minds, our hearts, and our bodies, between our physical and psychological well-being, and between ourselves and all the other beings in our country and in the world. Each of us needs to stop being a passive observer of suffering. We know this is going on in the world. Each of us is called to start being with the sufferers. Each of us needs to make a leap that is both practical and philosophical, beyond determinism to self-determination. Each of us has to be true and enhance our own humanity by embracing and practicing the conviction that as human beings, we have free will, despite the powers and principalities that are bent on objectifying and commodifying us and our human relationships and with the earth. The interlocking crises of our times require that we exercise the power within us to make principled choices in our ongoing daily and political lives. Choices that will eventually, although not inevitably, make a difference. May it be so. Amen.
By Langston Hughes. Let America be America again. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America was never America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never yet has been, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that is mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain would bring back our mighty dream again. Let America be America again.
Our typical sermon this morning is being shared and experienced through multiple voices and perspectives. So I will share some words, join Sharon Tillman in an invitation, reflect upon a video we will see, and then watch powerful and important messages. So see it all as a shared experience. I would like to thank Eddie Carson, who I know is online, a good and dear friend of our church and of myself. He was so helpful to me as I considered this sermon and this service. And we were together multiple times, online and in other ways, contemplating what to share about Martin Luther King and caste and his connections to others that inspired his awareness. And as I was working with this yesterday, I just thought, no, Eddie has to come preach this. These aren't my words to share. So he will be joining us with joy sometime in this anniversary year. Thank you, Eddie. Last year, this congregation, we voted to approve the 8th principle of Unitarian Universalism, which affirms our commitment to journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, both by our understandings and actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. This was an important step in our church's history and a continuation of our commitment to issues of social justice. I know this can feel overwhelming, especially when we add it to all the other issues that are happening at this time. But my friends, we do not and cannot do it all. However, we must do what we can. To do nothing, promise me, is more overwhelming than being bystanders to all that is happening. All that has happened and is happening in direct violation of the values we hold dear: the worth and dignity of all people, a free and just society, the democratic process, caring for our earth and all of its creatures. And as you'll hear today, doing something takes many forms. Our understanding of the issues is a huge part of that. After our vote last year, our congregation joined a dozen other Unitarian Universalist congregations from around the country in an online learning circle. This group and all of us are being led by Paula Cole-Jones, who is the founder of the Eighth Principle Project, and together we are learning how to incorporate real change into our congregations and our work with partners in the community that uphold and work towards the principles embodied in our eighth principle. This group is called the Leading Edge Team. I had talked about it last year. There was an open invitation, and I wanted to just list the members who are involved in this: Sue Fasoli, Eileen Vargas Costello, Art Henshaw, Rebecca Lobb, Hugh Martinez, August Mead, Julie Menon, Serena Conready, and myself. This group was chosen with representatives from various communities within our church, again, all of whom responded to this invitation last year. During this long-term effort, we will be working with other FRS members, friends, staff, and communities or groups to broaden our awareness of the eighth principle and enhance the outcomes in all of our church's activities, both within and beyond the walls of our church. So we invite you, if you're interested to learn more or to join us, to please let us know, and you'll be hearing more from us and about this in the next month and ongoing. This service today is a part of the work of the eighth principle, as is joining the congregational read of Cast, which we're going to hear more about in just a moment from Sharon Tillman. People have said over the years, certainly elsewhere and here, that reading a book, it isn't doing something. It isn't social action. Reading a book, we're just sitting, analyzing. I suppose that it is all about what book you are reading, how you approach it, and most importantly, if you allow it to change you. Cast is a book that if you participate fully and join, will change you. Even if you have read this before, I invite and encourage all of us to participate in this learning and transformative experience. Martin Luther King himself learned firsthand about the realities of a caste system on a visit he made to India in 1956. While there, he learned not only about the caste system in India, which was his original intention and purpose, as he was so influenced by the work of Mahatma Gandhi, but while he was there, he realized, and it's a beautiful story to read, that we too in America have a caste system, and that he, as a black man, regardless of his prominence, his visibility, his respect, and all that he was doing, he, as a black man, was of the lowest class in America. And he said, quote, "We call it race in America. They call it caste in India. In both places, it means the same thing. Some are considered inferior, treated as though they deserve less." With his assassination, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s work and vision never had the chance to fully come into fruition. He wrote about the reality of economic injustice and caste and the need for change in his final book, which I quoted from in our call to worship this morning, What Comes Next? Chaos or Community? I wonder if we all know and recognize that that book, as many of his others, was published by Beacon Press, which is our Unitarian Universalist Association publisher. We were allies and supporters of his all along. And in that book, his final book, King called us to recognize the importance of taking action. And he wrote, "The absence of brutality and unregulated evil is not the presence of justice. To stay murder is not the same thing as to ordain brotherhood or beloved community." He also wrote, and I would call this final quote prophetic, "In the days ahead, we must not consider it unpatriotic to raise certain basic questions about our national character. My friends, let us continue and advance our commitment to the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to ending racism and all oppression, economic disparity, the caste system, war, and so much more. May it be so. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Tillman. Excuse me, I have a cold. Well, tail end of one. I am here this morning to invite you to join our congregational read of Isabella Wilkinson's nonfiction work, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent. In Caste, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author uses metaphors, personal experiences, and detailed historical research to discuss the three major caste systems of India, Nazi Germany, and America. She examines race, class, and caste, and explains how America was founded on principles which continue to perpetuate an unjust and unequal society today. The stories she tells are not dissimilar to my own personal experiences living in Massachusetts. In fact, let me tell you of a recent encounter I experienced on a trip home from Logan Airport. As many of you know, I recently lost my older brother. He suffered a massive stroke in May in North Carolina. He remained in a vegetated state, receiving hospice care at home for almost 9 long months. I last visited him in September. I returned after 4 days. My flight landed at Logan at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I entered my Uber and was greeted by my driver, a gentleman from India who appeared to be in his 60s. I settled in for the 1-hour drive to Newbury. I had briefly closed my eyes to relax from the early morning travel and the emotionally taxing visit. 10 minutes into the ride, the driver blurted out as he stared at me in his rearview mirror, "You black?" His tone was inquisitive, yet somewhat condescending. I responded, "Yes." His response was quick, "You don't look black." I did not respond. We rode in silence for another 20 minutes when he suddenly exclaimed, "There are no blacks in Newbury." To which I responded, "I live there." He opined, "Well, you'll be okay because you don't look black." Again, silence as the Uber continued along 95 to the Scotland Road exit. As we approached the fork at the exit, we were met by a Newbury police officer who was positioned to alert drivers to a pedestrian race just ahead. A look of terror came over my driver's face, one I had seen many times over on the faces of black men who had been stopped by the police. The driver attempted to ask the officer if he should drive in any particular direction. Before he could complete his sentence, the officer leaned into the driver's face and yelled, "I don't care where you go, just keep moving." The officer's conduct was unnecessarily confrontational. He was acting out his dominant role, even though there were no cars or pedestrians in sight. My Uber driver nervously turned in the wrong direction and made a U-turn 1 mile down the road. He then told me he was going to take Route 1 all the way back to the airport to avoid that police officer. As the driver approached my neighborhood, he commented on all the boats parked in the neighbors' driveways. I mentioned that the ocean was a few miles down the road. As if to put me in my proper caste place, the driver said, "You mean river." I said, "No, I mean the ocean." I arrived at home weary, exasperated, offended. I thought, how might that ride have gone differently had I not been emotionally exhausted? How might the drivers and the police officers' conduct been different if they had read Caste? How might we all benefit from educating ourselves on how our unconscious biases translate into unknowing acts of racism? But this is my world. This is the world so vividly and thoughtfully portrayed by Isabel Wilkerson in Caste. I invite you to be a part of it, if only for a few weeks. Wilkerson writes, "Evil only asks that the dominant class sit back and do nothing. I ask, do we stay in our comfort zones, our isolated dinner tables, and our de facto segregated jobs, neighborhoods, and communities? This Sunday morning, I propose that we challenge ourselves, that we take the first step, that we educate ourselves about the systems that perpetuate ignorance, hate, and injustice by reading Isabel Wilkerson's Caste. Please join me on a journey of knowledge. If I do not happen to live next door to you, work with you, or dine at your table, then consider visiting my world by reading Caste. Please consider signing up in the vestibule.
Thank you, Sharon. There are sign-up sheets in the vestibule and online, and predominantly the meetings will be on Zoom, though we'll meet the first time and last in person. Let's join in together. In just a few minutes, we'll be listening to a recording of Lift Every Voice and Sing that Sharon brought to our team's attention and awareness. This is sung by the Grace Baptist Church Cathedral Choir in Mount Vernon, New York, and recorded for the organization The Balm in Gilead. It was created and first shown at the African American Church inaugural ball, listen, on January 18th, 2009, 2 days before President Obama's first inauguration. Rather than take the vision that you'll see at the end of this as a reminder of what was and could have been, rather than sink into despair and defeat, let's take it as a call to remember who we are and what matters, and who we can and will become. Before we watch this, I wanted to share some words that I had shared, or at least in part, at the Juneteenth celebration in June. Sharon and I had talked about the importance of these words, and more or less they are verbatim from one of my great teachers, the Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, who I often quote. Reverend Lewis is explaining the origins of the song we're about to hear and comparing it to the Star-Spangled Banner, explaining why many people believe this should be our national anthem. The Star-Spangled Banner, she writes, is adapted from a poem, The Defense of Fort McHenry, that Francis Scott Key wrote after witnessing an attack by British ships during the War of 1812. The son of a wealthy plantation family, Key bought his first enslaved person in 1800 when he was 21 years old. By the time he wrote this poem, he personally owned 6 enslaved Africans. Professionally, he defended several enslavers seeking to reclaim people who fled from captivity. Even the anthem itself, she writes, makes his values clear. In the 3rd verse, for example, Key triumphantly proclaims, "No refuge could save the hireling or the slave." In case the audience for this anthem was in doubt, the final verse begins, "Thus it be ever when free men shall stand." Indeed, the racism in its verses is partially why it didn't become our national anthem for more than a century after Key wrote it. It was made official in 1931 under Jim Crow, as a, quote, neo-Confederate political victory. If there's an anthem that was written with everyone in mind, it certainly wasn't that one. Lift Every Voice and Sing, on the other hand, was written by NAACP leader Samuel Weldon Johnson in 1900 and put to music by his brother James. Initially, Johnson wrote the song for the segregated school where he served as a principal to give the children something they would feel pride singing. Quickly, however, it spread throughout Black communities as people embraced lyrics which spoke to both the pain and pride of being a Black American. The tension between our past and future promise brims through every verse. Lines like, "We have come over a way that with tears have been watered." Held in balance with proclamations, "We stand at last where the white gleam of our bright star is cast." Crucially, the song does not dwell exclusively on our history, but actively calls the singer and listener into facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us fight on until victory is won. This focus on completing America's unfinished work of liberation is why the song became a staple of the civil rights movement. Folks organizing the Montgomery bus boycott sang it during meetings. Dr. King often quoted it in his speeches. Time magazine had reported that after King was assassinated, a crowd in Roxbury, Massachusetts sang the song. The Reverend Virgil Wood declaring, "We will not sing the anthem that has dishonored us, but we will sing the one that has honored us." Just as Black freedom fighters demanded this country give life, liberty, and justice, and the pursuit of happiness to all that has been denied to us, Jackie Lewis writes, the Black national anthem testifies to our collective power to make the promise real, realizing justice and equality for all people. Contrasted with a song written by an enslaver who dreamed of prosperity for free men, there should be no doubt over which song includes everyone. The truth is, Black leadership and culture have consistently served as America's prophetic conscience, the voice calling our nation to live out the values that its founding left unfulfilled. If the purpose of a national anthem is to remind our country of our deepest purpose, an aspirational yearning for who we might still be, that music should not come from an enslaver, but from those who have labored so all people can be free. Let's watch, listen, learn, honor, and remember. The days ahead offer so many unknowns, so many fears and visions of difficulties, but let us always remember this: the power of a collective, the power of a group of committed citizens, of faithful religious people who remind everyone of collective liberation, of the values we believe in, of what we stand for. There is no place better to be, and we need everyone, every single one of us. Make a promise to yourself right now. We hope that everyone will join us next door for the Justice Sunday, where we will have soup and salad and fellowship and watch an interview with Isabella Wilkerson about her book. If you aren't able to stay, even though we kept the snow at bay, did you notice? We just said wait. We do hope everyone will sign up and participate in this congregational read. Before I offer a closing blessing, I wonder if all of us might thank the members of our anti-racism initiative for all their commitment and work over the years. Sometimes we may be slow on the uptick or change, but I can promise us one thing: we are a faithful people. And when the commitment is made, we will do this. I think I'm out of order. Were we supposed to say our benediction? Yeah. Was anybody going to tell me that? Let's rise, embody our spirit, and join in our unison benediction. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. My friends, as we prepare to go from this place, may we go lifted up in our commitment to all that we hold dear. May we hold each other's hearts and hands, challenge each other's minds, and we will find our way together. Go in peace, my friends, and return again in great joy. Amen and blessed be.